Hello, welcome to the second episode in the series where I'll look at the layout and constructing my loft of Tonbridge West Yard. In today's episode I'm going to start looking at some of the buildings I've already constructed for the layout. Now, these have been built for quite some time, I just unfortunately haven't progressed them. I've been busy doing other things, the real world gets in the way. And then obviously I started this YouTube channel looking at 3D drawing. So the first building we're going to be looking at today is the shunters lobby at the Red Hill end of the yard. And this would have primarily been used for drivers and shunters to have taken their breaks and somewhere to go and get out of the weather when it's not been great. The building itself is a prefab building. There was similar buildings throughout the whole of the southern region. I'm not entirely sure when the building was constructed, but by the time that my layout is set, this building was out of use and was looking quite run down and worse for wear. I really do have to thank Paul Wade for supplying me copies of all the photographs for the buildings. He also supplied me scale plans of most of the buildings throughout the yard, which has made it completely possible to be able to produce these to the correct size and dimensions. Without his help, I'm not sure I would have tackled this project, to be fair. So if we take a closer look at the building, it's essentially constructed using plastic-hard walls. The clear glass is just the plastic you get off of packaging materials, and then all the framing around the top sides, that's all just microstrip. The top I think is 0.8 by 2mm, and then all this beading around the window frames is 0.5mm by 0.5mm. The steps at the bottom here, I've just used some plastic hard steps to form the steps inside, and then I've used scale scene brick paper for the outside that was printed on packaging labels. Paint wise, I've got two paints essentially, Humbrol 70, which I've used for all of the sides, and then Phoenix grey paint for the two roofs. The target graffiti on the end, I just used one of those paint pens. It's not perfect, but it's tiny, it's N-gauge. And then underneath, I've just used some I-beams just to support it on the base. All glued together using liquid poly, and it has left some glue marks, but I've still got to go over this with some matte varnish, which I'll just brush that on. All the painting I do is brush painted. It does leave some paint marks. I have watered the paint down before I brushed it, but unfortunately it still leaves a little bit of markings there. But when you're looking at it from arm's length away, you can't really notice that sort of thing. And I will weather this up as well. It hasn't been weathered yet. But yeah, I think it's a reasonably good representation. There is no interiors inside because, again, as I say, from arm's length away, you can't really see inside the building. It was quite a run-down building and was out of use for the period that I modelled, so I'm not overly bothered about that sort of detail. But if you wanted to, you could obviously do that yourself and for your own buildings. But the materials-wise for this, you're probably looking at no more than a couple of quid. So a relatively cheap little building, and it's quite unique. So yeah, quite pleased with the outcome of that. As I said earlier, when I constructed the building, the majority of these items, they're quite repeatable and the same sort of lengths and sizes. So for doing all the same things repeated, I used my Northwest short line chopper tool. Essentially, you've just got like a guillotine with a razor blade in here, normal self-repairing cutting mat. It comes with two different cutting guides, one with a 90 degrees and a 30 degrees cut, and the other's got a 60 and a 45 degree. These are just mounted in here using these little spring mounted retainers. So you position your 90 degree wherever you want it distance wise from the blade, so you can just use a normal ruler to measure this out, and then you just lock it into position, and then when you do your cuts you just do them over and over again, and you'll get two pieces which come out identical sizes. And then obviously you just use a little bit of a file, take the burrs off the edges, but it makes doing something like this quite easy because it's very repeatable, and as I say, lots of these parts are the same size. You don't have to measure them multiple parts over and over again. I also mentioned I used scale scenes brick paper for doing the step area around the bottom here. You order these online. They're available from scalescenes.com. Just print them, download them, and print them as many times as you want. You can print them on normal paper, but I choose a lot of the time to just print them on self-adhesive labels. I use labels which are complete whole sheets, so you're not losing any of the parts when you go to use it. They're available in various different designs. This is just a aged brown brick, item number TX07. Obviously you use this centre beam, which you would use this for coping stones or coping bricks across the top of walls. But the majority of the buildings I produce, quite small in size, so you're going to use multiple sheets at a time, but they'll fit in this area. One thing I would suggest when you print these is these work best when laser printed, and I was fortunate enough to be able to work for a company that had a large laser printer, so I was just able to run myself off as many sheets as I wanted. I just, as I say, bought 500 sheets of labels, and I think I printed about 150 sheets of this brick paper, and I've got quite a bit of it still left kicking around whenever I need it. So here's the building in its actual location. You can see it's at the end of the Jubilee sidings, where the West Yard actually goes in and joins the main line towards Red Hill. It's quite a unique building, quite small. The camera at the moment is about arm's length away, so you can see from this sort of distance it looks quite a good representation, and yeah, pretty pleased with how it's come out.